what's up?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the program.
The Airtime Podcast is presented by Van Shoes since 1966. 66!
There's nothing fake about it. Have something to believe in and be yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. How are you doing? Thank you so much for tuning in. For today, we have the lovely Alyona Elena, all the way from Moscow, Russia. She may have been a little bit before your time. Blowing up around 2010, she was absolutely dominating the contest scene in Russia and throughout Europe, heading towards the 2014 Olympics. Tragically, in 2013, Alyona had a bail in California while attending a Roxy shoot, leaving her paralyzed from the waist down. A devastating setback, no doubt, but as she does with style and grace, she decided to try and achieve all of the goals she once had before this injury. And not only did she achieve all those, she's headed to doing more than just that. She started a successful band 3-2-1 run. They've even opened for the Lax Open, an event that she used to attend. She's a motivational speaker. She's a model. She was a model before the injury. The only thing is now she's landing her biggest contracts to date. She's a vegan, a night owl, works out daily, and absolutely crushes it at life. Without a doubt, the most inspiring guest we've had on the show. Enjoy, everyone. All right, big shout outs to our sponsor, the best snowboard boots in the world, Vans. The High Standard Pro, the perfect boot to handle whatever you throw in front of it. Whether it's a big-ass mogul field or a big-ass ollie, these boots got you covered. This boot features the Ultra Cush Smart Wool liners to help you stay warm and dry and ready for that next run. The V2 Pop Cush, them footbeds with the highest level of impact cushioning. The High Standard Pro, the king wears them, and so should you. Check them out on vans.com or vans.ca or any fine snowboard shop ever, because they definitely carry them, because Arthur wears them.
Everybody who comes to the class has already heard of King Arthur, and they love the stories of Arthur, and they're fascinated.
All right, welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We have Alyona. Okay, I'm going to butcher it because I'm not Russian. I'm Ukrainian, but I can barely speak the language.
Well, the thing is that in Russian it's Alekhin, but in America, they pronounce it as Alekhin. So
yeah, that's how I was going to say it, and I thought you were going to make fun of me.
Whatever.
All right, give us the full name. I want the full Russian experience.
Russian, like in Russian, right?
Yeah, I want you to say your name in your native tongue.
It's Alyona Elena.
Oh, that was beautiful.
I
wish I was Russian. All right, so how have you been? I mean, life has changed a lot since I last seen you. I mean, at the glacier of COC was the last time I saw you, and lots of people probably know who you are. Lots of people probably don't know who you are. To give a little background, pro snowboarder, had an accident, went into being a model, musician. Yeah, I mean, you've really done it all in your life. But I mean, let's go back to the beginning here. What was growing up in Russia like?
My life had been pretty amazing. I think, but up until the time of my accident, I think I always considered myself very lucky and just a very happy person. I don't know how it happens to some people, but I think I was one of those, like, very happy people. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because I grew up in a very loving family, I didn't necessarily have a lot growing up. Like, I was coming from pretty poor family, I think. But I think I had enough at the same time, you know. But the most important part was that I think I was very lucky to grow up in a very, very like loving family. So my life, I don't know, and so I always felt like I have this light in me, And I always, sometimes I thought it was weird that I was happy most of my time. Right after the accident, I felt like the unhappiest person. So it was a funny. I used to say like, oh, up until my accident, I had been the luckiest. I felt like I had been the luckiest and the happiest girl you could meet, and now I feel the opposite. And now I think it's been 7.5 years. I think I made a loop because now I think I have more in common to that girl prior to the accident. I think if we talk about the attitude, the spirit, I think I'm back to finding happiness again. But I think it's important to say that I haven't been able to walk ever since my accident. So we don't confuse the people who are listening and who don't know much about me. That said, I think it's good that we're talking now and not a couple of years ago, because it's way easier to talk about everything now. And so back to answering your question though, growing up in Russia was great. And to me, I mean, yeah, I was a very happy person.
Growing up in Russia to me, it seems really different. So where did you grow up in Russia, and what was like, being 5 years old or 10 years old in Russia? Like, what did you do? Like, what was it like? That seems far-fetched for me.
It's funny that I was born in the USSR because I was born in 1988, and the USSR existed up until 1991. So basically I lived 3 years in the USSR, which is funny. My passport says that, and now, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so born in the USSR and, I was born and raised in Moscow. It's still,
no way.
Yes, it's still my favorite city. I think even after being around the globe pretty much, and living in different, cities and, also countries. But I think Moscow will be forever my favorite city because it's so amazing and so special to me because it's my hometown. So it's a big city. Moscow is a lot like New York, I'd say. And it's a big city full of life. It never sleeps. It always has something to do. I mean, you always have something to do when you're in Moscow. There's always something to do. And, we had a country house. Like in Russia, you call it dacha. It's when, do you know anything about it?
No, but I like that you threw in some Russian in there.
Well, I see that you want to hear about it. So
I do. I'm very intrigued.
So dacha is a lot of people in Soviet Union who lived in the city, also had a little summer house outside of the city where they went for the weekend, for the holidays. Like grandchildren would spend their summer vacation with their grandparents in that summer house. That's what happened to me. And actually, right now I'm at my parents' house at this dacha thing. Although now it's not a summer house. It's like the house where you can live full time. So when I come to visit, I stay at this house. So pretty much where I grew up, because I spent every summer here with my grandparents. We have 4 seasons, and it's winter now. It's winter wonderland outside right now, but we have the most beautiful summers. In the summer, I don't have any other place I want to be. And when it's snowing in Moscow, I also want to be there, not in like, let's say late October, and not like late March. That's when I don't want to be in Moscow, because it's like in between the seasons, so it's weird.
Yeah, anybody who has like that lives in a 4-season like country or climate, I mean, those few months where it's in between summer and winter, yeah, they can be pretty like it's. I mean, sometimes it's beautiful, you know what I mean? The flowers are all coming off and the color change and it goes to those cool oranges and yellows. But I mean, other than that, I mean, yeah, Canada is not really my favorite place to be in those months either. I try, if I can, and before the pandemic, to go surf somewhere. Or I'm fortunate enough to have those experiences. But when I think of Moscow, I think of those insanely crazy buildings. What are those called? Those monumental Russian buildings that have like those rounded tops with the pointy.
Oh,
like those
churches, probably cathedrals.
Oh, those
and
churches?
Yeah.
Like those are just amazing structures. Those are masterpieces of architecture.
Yeah,
and I've always wanted to go to Russia more just for like the architecture. I mean, I don't really have too many close Russian friends, you know what I mean? And my few friends that have gone to Russia, maybe they just had some bad experiences.
I was like, never come back. I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, they were like, I don't know, but like I think I need to go with you, and you need to be my tour guide.
yeah, that's for sure. I meant that my friends who have gone to Russia, and I was going to continue, like, never come back, because it sounded like we were about to say that. Yeah, I think
they were very intimidated. I think they were very intimidated by, like, the people and stuff like that. But that also depends, like, if you go to the wrong place in California, I mean, you're going to be saying the same thing.
Exactly. Plus, it's changing. I think Moscow is so different, even from a few years ago. It's really changing fast right now. I don't know why. And speaking about the architecture, it's very eclectic. I would say that Moscow has a signature card. Whatever is it called? A signature card, like
their own style.
Yeah, and the style is, if you know St. Petersburg, it's another big city we have in Russia, and it's a lot like Paris because it's all old. They keep it old. They keep it as you said, old churches and stuff. They keep it. They keep the style of that time when it was around the time it was built, and they try to keep it like that, you know. They renovate and whatever, but they try to keep the style so it's like it looks more like an old European city, versus Moscow has got it all right next to each other. And it's funny, but a lot of people hate it, you know, like older generation hated how this old church of, I don't know, 17th, 16th century or even older is placed right next to a like glass office building. But
like an Apple store.
I know, well, yeah, or, you know, like really modern building, like all glass and a skyscraper, whatever. I love it about Moscow. I don't know why, because it's just so different. It's like Paris and New York mixed up, you know, right next to each other and like blended together and then totally mixed up. So I think I like that about Moscow because, you can be looking and seeing that old church, right, this modern building, and then something from like 70s of last century, which is completely different too. But I like how eclectic it is, how it's all in one, and how it's a little bit like oxymoron, I think it's called, when it's a mix of unmixable, you know, when they are so wrong together, then I like it. I don't know.
I think that's beautiful. I mean, Canada's not that old of a place. I mean, we're like 100 and something years old, where you go to Russia or any European countries or a lot of other countries, and it's just like old architecture and then the new stuff. And I love that modern, especially I've never been to Russia before, but I've gone to Sweden a few times, and they have like buildings and like incorporated from like the 1600s and stuff like that. That's just fascinating to me, like bridges and stuff like that. And then exactly like skyscrapers with like the full modern look. And it's, I mean, to me, it doesn't get more intriguing than that.
Yeah, I think that to describe it, the easiest is like New York and Paris together, but like right next to each other. The Manhattan and like old Paris right next to it.
So then growing up for you would have, at a young age, how did you get introduced to like this culture of skateboarding and snowboarding and punk that I know that you're so into? Like, when did that all become introduced to you? Did you have older siblings that got you into that, or?
I have an older brother, and when he was 12, when I was 12, sorry, he was 17. He's 5 years older than me. So when I was 12, he was 17. I think he was done with the phase of punk rock. So he kind of gave he moved on to something else, but he gave all the old CDs to me or something like that. So I got those CDs and got into them a lot. I still remember one of the albums that was there. It was Goldfinger, Open Your Eyes, I think. So it was around 2000, not 2000, 2002, like that, around that time.
Yeah.
And that then led me into skateboarding. I started skateboarding, and my brother had a skateboard, and we would hang out, like, skateboarding together. And later I started using his skateboard, and then that later on led to snowboarding, which I thought back then it was very, like, to me back then it seemed that it's very connected, like punk rock, because punk rock and skateboarding was somewhat connected. Then I thought snowboarding would be connected to punk rock too, and I was so wrong. I couldn't be any more wrong, I think, because it was not. It was like later on I found out it was more about hip hop and stuff. Maybe older snowboarding.
Yeah, I think like the 90s was definitely heavy, punk rock snowboarding, without a doubt, like old NoFX, Offspring, whatever, that kind of music. And then, yeah, once you would have probably got into it heavy in the early 2000s, it was definitely going more into like the JP Walker rap phase.
Yeah, but I got my first snowboard in 2005, like,
wow.
Yes, spring. So I almost didn't get to ride it. So my first
How did you get so good?
So my first season, which wasn't like a real season because I broke my collarbone the first season I started snowboarding, but my first season, anyways, it wasn't a season, but let's call it that, was 2006. So yes, it wasn't connected to punk rock back then, but I think it's funny how it made a loop, because for me, it started with the punk rock, which led me into skateboarding. Skateboarding led me into snowboarding, and then I got injured in 2013, and a couple of years ago I've been always in music, obviously, but into music, but a couple of years ago I made a band and now I have a punk rock band. So I find it's funny how it all made a loop, kind of, because snowboarding then led me into music, back to music.
I mean, everything that you covered there is like all kind of, smushed together, like snowboarding, skateboarding, and punk rock. They all just kind of go together.
Well, for me,
you must have been, so at your school growing up, were you like the only girl into all of those things? Because to me, I remember growing up, well, I'm definitely a little bit older than you, but there wasn't a lot of girls in my school and stuff like that were snowboarding or skateboarding, or a few girls were listening to punk, but it was mainly the guys who were listening to the punk, and the girls hanging out with them long enough, they're into punk. But like, you seem like you eat, breathe, and sleep this stuff from a young age. It's just like, what was your CD collection like back then? Like, what were your favorite bands? Because you're obsessed with the whole punk phase.
Well, yeah, back then, I think it started, those few CDs, I think, were Goldfinger, NoFX, I think. I'm not sure which one it was. And also it was a Rancid album. So those three CDs. Then there was a pop punk phase for a little while, but I was always more into like less pop punk, more like skate punk and punk. Yeah, you're right. I mean, at school, a few of my friends listened to the same music, but probably because they were forced to by me. I don't think any of them are still into that, and a lot of them, most of them have like kids and families now. And I still, play in a punk band. And it's funny, some of my friends who, well, I guess those were older friends, but still it's funny, sometimes I text with a few of them, and they're like taking their kids to vocal lessons, and I take myself to vocal lessons still, or guitar, so that's kind of funny. I didn't get to grow up yet in that way, I guess. And it's funny that for them, it's a phase that they left far behind them, and I'm still there. My music preferences haven't changed a whole lot since then, since I was 12 years old.
I mean, I remember when the one time that we did hang out for a few weeks at Camp of Champions, you were definitely jamming to like punk music. But what's the name of your band? Like you said, you're starting a band. I mean, I feel like is it 3, 2, 1 go or something? Or
3, 2, 1 run.
3, 2, 1 run. And when did that all come together? Was that before, or is this very recent stuff?
It's pretty recent. Well, the band didn't have any tracks out, I think even a year ago. So we released our first track less than a year ago. So that's when we came up with a name finally. I'm very bad at making decisions, so I couldn't make up my mind about the name.
Welcome to the club.
Oh, I hate this club. Can I leave it? I would love to. I'm the worst at making decisions. Same. Yeah, it's like today we were thinking like, should we do it today or should we do it like some other day? And we couldn't decide it forever.
If you would have texted me one more time, like, well, what do you think? I probably would have been like, well, what do you think? And we would have gone nowhere.
I've noticed that. Yeah, definitely. I was actually about to ask you, are you Gemini? I don't believe in astrology, like, at all. I'm pretty agnostic and I'm an atheist. I barely believe in anything, but it's funny how I believe in Geminis. That's the only thing that I believe, because it's just every Gemini I've met has a real trouble with making decisions. Do you know what you mean?
How do I know? I don't know. I was
when is
born
your birthday?
In April.
Oh, April.
April
28th. Then I don't know what's your excuses. Mine for not being able to make any decisions. I always say, well, I'm a Gemini. Although it's funny because I don't believe in astrology, so that's funny.
Is it? Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's definitely a fall.
Well, Gemini means like twins. Gemini means twins, so it's like two of you in you. So one, and they always fight. Like one wants one thing and the other one wants something different. So I don't know. Like in Russian, the word Gemini means twins, and I definitely feel like there are two people in me, and they always fight and they want different things, and that's why it's so hard to make any decision at all.
There's definitely, I feel like there's two in everybody.
Yeah,
one's pulling you in one direction and one's pulling you in the other. There's always the one that wants to be like lazy and give up, and then there's the other one that's like, keep going. What are you doing? Yeah, do it.
Yeah,
just get it done.
For sure.
So you're busy around the clock, as I can tell. Your sleeping habits are
horrible.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, it's 2 in the morning Moscow time right now, and you're like, yeah, let's do a podcast. I'm like, are you kidding? You're like, no, I don't sleep till like 4 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, I practice self-isolation still, so it doesn't really matter when I wake up, as long as I feel good and I feel well. I think I know in my head, I know it's not normal. I know it's messed up to be going to bed at 6 sometimes. But I'm a night owl for sure. I feel more inspired. I'm two different people, even during the day. I'm so inspired and full of energy every night. I write at night. I play music at night. I want to do it all, honestly. I normally plan something. Well, not now, but normally I plan. I agree to all of those shoots, and then at night, because I'm full of energy, I'm full of life, I want to do it all. And then in the morning, I wake up and think, what the hell I was thinking? Like, why? Who was that? Because I feel like now I'm obligated to do all that, but in the morning, now I don't really, I hate mornings so much that now I don't have mornings because I wake up at 1. I always sleep. I have a rule of sleeping from 7, not less than 7 and not more than 8 hours every night. So somewhere in between. So I always just count 7 or 8 hours and wake up whenever it's 7 or 8 hours past the time when I went to bed. So, but oftentimes it's 1 o'clock. And so I have no mornings now, and I love that. But still, even though I don't have mornings, it's still in the morning, at 1 o'clock, whenever I'm having my first coffee and breakfast, I I don't like, I'm a different person. I'm not very fun to hang out with and to talk to because I'm not excited about this life. But then, 2 hours after I wake up, I'm better. I'm better as a human being after my first coffee, definitely.
Yeah, I'm not a very, I'd like to say I'm a good morning person, but I'm not at all. Like the morning for me is just not where I shine. I need a cup of coffee and food and then I'm good. But like before I get the coffee in me, I'm not as bad as my girlfriend who's like, it's just insane. She's like not even a human at some levels. Like I don't even know who I've decided to date sometimes. I'm like, what? Like today I poured out literally like an inch of coffee, half an inch of coffee in her mug. I thought she was done with it. And she freaking laid into me like, you poured out my coffee. I need that. And I'm like, wow. Like, I don't know if there's like if someone she can talk to for that or I'm not trying to throw my girlfriend under the bus. She's a great person. She just needs her coffee. You know what I mean?
Well,
I feel like
I
we're all
don't
in the
blame
same club.
her. I'm the same.
Yeah, coffee nut for sure. But so I know you do a lot. You know, you model. I feel like you do talks and inspire people. You're in a band. What does a normal month look for you? Like, what do you cram into it? I feel like you do more than most in a year. I feel like you're so busy.
Well, honestly, I feel like I've lost a lot of time with my injury because the first 2.5 years after my injury, I made a decision to barely do anything besides working and something that so I could keep being independent financially from everybody else and working out. So therapy was my priority. I would say it still is my priority, but now I try to balance, I think I've reached the balance of work and therapy and other things. But versus first 2.5 years, all I did was therapy, and I felt guilty if I did something else. So, but I feel like I owed it to myself to give myself this knowledge that I've done, and I keep doing everything I can in my power. That's in my power to leave myself a chance to get more motion in my legs, or whenever if they create something extraordinary, some new technology, crazy technology that one day, let's say in 20 years, that will enable me to walk again. Then I still have to be in shape for that, even if it's something magical, I still have to take care of my body physically. So therapy and my workouts is still my priority, but now I also allow myself other things in life. So all that said, I feel like I've lost a lot of time doing only therapy and work, which I don't think I wasted, but I've lost because I barely had any life during those years. I've seen only, I saw only the gym and all that. So I can say that now, yes, I want it all.
Looking back on that, are you happy that was the decision you made? I mean, now you have a lot of time to reflect on it as somebody who's looking back. Are you happy with those plays that you
Yes, made? As I said, it gives me this knowledge that I've done everything I could and more. Actually, I think there were times when I worked out 10 hours a day, and I'm not kidding. I lived for 6 months, almost in a row with a little break. I lived in almost like a boot camp, rehabilitation, a really hardcore rehabilitation center in Moscow. And it was a little room full of equipment and nothing else. And so all I did there was working out and working, because I started 3 months after my injury. I started teaching on Skype, on audio call, teaching languages. So I would be working out, and because it's pretty monotonous, right now as I'm speaking to you, I'm standing in my workout standing frame, just because I try to spend as much time vertical as I can, just because it's good for my body. So whatever I can do vertical, working and stuff like that, I do vertical. Anyways, and So yeah, when I lived in that boot camp, I had nothing there to do but working out. So I worked out 10 hours a day. So not even exaggerating. Yeah, but answering your question, no, I do not regret it. Like, I mean, I wish I didn't have to do it, right? But hadn't had to do it. But it is what it is, and I wouldn't have I know that I've done it all. It's in general in life. It's important for me to know that I've done everything on my part, and whatever does not depend on me, it's not in my power. I'm not going to be that upset about it. I'm very demanding of myself, always have been, but I'm not going to be very upset if something goes wrong that doesn't depend on me, because what's the point of being upset about it if I can't change it, So that was important for me to do my part. The first years are crucial too for your recovery, So I think it was very important to invest all the time and effort and everything else to now to be proud of myself and to feel like I've done everything I was supposed to and more.
I feel like you handled that wow, I don't even know how to put that into words other than that's if there was a book on what to do, I feel like you did it right, completely. And I feel like a lot of, like you said, you don't even look back with any regrets, and you don't even need to convince yourself to not have any regrets. It's like you literally did everything the way you wanted to do it and more, like you said. And it's wow.
Thank you.
I feel like that's just who you are as a person, and you'll always be like that, whether it's in music or it's in recovery or it was in snowboarding or anything. I feel like if you're invested in something, you're fully invested, which is a very admirable trait to have. I mean, I feel like I commend you for that, because I'm not like that as much as I'd like to be.
Well, thank you. I don't think if it's necessarily always a good thing, but I'm definitely, sounds about right. And exactly that's what happened with snowboarding. I was obsessed. I started very late, and I also had that feeling that the time is now. And I also studied at the university, but I would be so determined that I would go to the university in my snowboard boots with my snowboard, and in between the classes I would have 2.5 hours, and I would go to a slope, a little small slope, would build some
Yes.
small rail or whatever I could find there, and would then come back to the university all wet with after being in the snow for an hour with my snowboard in the back of the classroom, and then after university I would go and get another hour on a small slope like that. So yeah, I was a little. Then after my first injury, I remember doing the same thing, but also when I couldn't take my snowboard from home because my parents said no more snowboarding for you after my first broken collarbone, and I would dry my snowboard with a hairdryer, because if you just wipe it with a towel, there is some snow in the bindings, and later on it will melt and will leave a track.
Evidence.
Yes, evidence. So I got so smart that I wasn't, my parents could not find out. They would be so mad that I'm back to snowboarding so soon after my injury. So I had to dry with a hairdryer the bindings, and I would go in between the classes and go back to university, and they never knew that I went snowboarding that day. So yeah.
So what age were you when you first got sponsored, and how did that all come together? I mean, you've been a Roxy ambassador, and you probably are for life. And I'm just, how did that all come together in Moscow? I feel like your opportunity, similar to Canada, but obviously I feel like even less sponsorship in a place like Russia and in the early 2000s, I feel like wasn't a really easy thing to just come upon. And how did that all come together for you?
Yeah, that's true. So as I said, my first season, which was 2006, but I broke my collarbone, so I pretty much missed it. And then I couldn't wait to get back to snowboarding next year, but it was just snowboarding in Moscow, which is, like New York, big city, no mountains or anything like that, so just little slopes. and I started jumping on like a spine or something like that. Do you call it a spine? No, we call
yeah,
it
spine or a hip. A spine to me is like you can hit it, you can go front side or back side on it.
Yeah, like a fun box,
like
but it's fun box in skateboarding. But see, I already forget things like that. So on a little jump, and I would always walk up the hill. And back then, I was a student. I didn't have any money to buy a lift, like a pass. Plus, my parents did not support the idea of snowboarding too, and it took me a while to save up for my first snowboard because they did not like that idea. So I was my first job was making dreadlocks, like in punk rock in the scene. I had a lot of clients with braid the dreadlocks.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I saved up for my first snowboard. So then I would just walk, hike up the hill. So the funny thing is that at the end of the spring 2007, which was finally when I got to snowboard, my first season in Moscow, when I didn't break the collarbone, like in the season before that, I would just, after university, I would go there every night. It was night riding with the lights and stuff. And I would just ride on my own with music. Like I didn't even need anybody with me. Sometimes I had some friends with me, but it wasn't even needed to have fun. And people started telling me just random strangers who I didn't know started saying oh, do you compete? Are you in a team or any? I was like, no, why? And they're like, well, you should try. And I was like, really? And more people started saying that. So I decided to participate, and it was really funny because it was Moscow championship, I think championship of Moscow, maybe championship of Russia on that same resort. But and I think I was on the podium. I can't remember the place that I took, but I do remember I was on the podium. So I won first,
in your
second,
first event.
Yes, but the funny thing that I kept falling on the lift. It was a small, because I didn't know how to use it, right? Because up until then, I mostly had hiked up the hill, because I couldn't afford the lift. So it was the funniest thing I was so ashamed because I wanted to get a spot on the podium, but I didn't know how to use the lift. So it was very funny. And I got some spot, I don't remember which one. So after that spring, I went to the mountains for the first time, Russian mountains in the south. And there were a bunch of contests, and I won one of them. And the prize for that was Nikita. Remember the brand, girls brand?
Nikita.
Nikita. So the prize was Nikita's sponsorship. But right after the I couldn't believe it. So I was so happy. But that very day, Roxy manager, team manager, came up to me and introduced himself and said, please don't rush into signing that contract because we would like to have you on our team. And I was like, well, I don't know. I think I'm already committed. I had just won sponsorship, couldn't wait and stuff. And then they invited me to their office in Moscow. And I was done. It was every girl's dream to be on a Roxy team. So I signed my first contract right after I got back from the mountains, and then the next trip I was already paid by Roxy to go on the trip to Norway pretty soon after that. So it was June. I went to the mountains for the first time, won that competition in I think March. Went to that camp, whatever, with Nikita contest in April, and in June I was already flying to Norway for the first time. In my life that I remembered, because I think when I was a baby I flew on the airplane once, but it was the first time I was flying on the airplane, I think. There to Norway.
And at this point, are you still drawing your board so your parents don't know you're snowboarding, or do they know you're riding?
They know. They do know. They don't support it, though. They don't like the idea. To be able to go to Norway, I had to pass my exams at the university in advance, and I studied languages and literature, and so I had to do a rushed express class, whatever. They did not like the idea. and it was the chances that I could go to that Norway trip were not big, but I somehow managed to do it. But they were not, they did not like the whole idea. So yeah, and so I signed the first contract with Roxy in 2007, and have been there with them ever since. It's been an amazing journey with them. So 13 years with them. We celebrated 13 years together this June.
Oh, amazing! What a rad connection you two have, I'm sure. What was that first contract like though? You're like on the hill, you win this event where you win, but you don't even know how to download off the chairlift and you podium, and then before you know it, you're going to the mountains, and then you're getting not only one sponsorship offer, you're getting two, and then you go with the one that brings you to the headquarters, because obviously Roxy's every girl's dream sponsor.
I also signed with Flow boards that spring, same spring. And I think after that contest in Moscow, and Dragon. So I was going to that to that Nikita contest, whatever, already sponsored by Flow and Dragon. And, sorry, what was the question?
No, I guess I was just wondering, how much was the contract that you would have been like a child? Like, did you get like, are you getting like $2,000 for the year to go travel, or is Roxy Russia dishing out like a 5K or bigger? Or like, what did that
I can't remember the amount. There was no salary, but the travel budget was pretty big. Like that Norway trip wasn't the only thing I did that year. There were like a couple of other trips. I think I went to Roxy Chicken Jam the same year, and it was all paid, and some other like Burton European Open, I think. So the travel budget was big. I pretty much could go to all the contests I wanted, I think, but there were no like salary. And also at the same time, almost simultaneously, I got accepted or invited, whatever it's called, signed with the Moscow team and Russian national team.
And this happened in how long?
It's spring.
You started snowboarding in 2 years. This happened pretty much. Like you said, you started pretty late. You started snowboarding like 2005. This is in 2007. You're hooked up head to toe because some people on the hill were like, "Yo, you're amazing. You need to." That's the best story ever.
Well, yeah, it happened pretty fast. Now, when I think that back then it didn't seem that. It back then it seemed like a very rough path to me, because I'm so passionate about it. That's my dream. I start snowboarding. I did sports my whole life before that, not professionally, but I did gymnastics at school competitions. I always would travel to like school competitions of all sorts, like volleyball. I'm super short. I'm 5'2", but like volleyball, I did it. Basketball, I did it. Soccer, was on school soccer team. Gymnastics team, like I did it all, but nothing professionally. But I think that background had helped a lot, and plus skateboarding. But it still felt. I was looking at later on when people started telling me about, hey, you should compete, and I started looking into it, watching some videos. I was like, oh wow, okay, and then I had a feeling for a couple of months, I think, but back then it felt like forever, that I deserve more, why nobody notices me or something. Now it's funny, when you say it, it sounds like it happened so fast, but I remember, to me, it felt like my path is not easy because I was so passionate about it. I would work so hard, but then I would break my collarbone, as soon as I started jumping, and but I think I did everything to get back to the slopes as soon as I could. And I think I was addicted for sure. I was not interested in anything but snowboarding. I mean, I had to do studying still, but I barely even saw my friends those few years, barely hung out with my family, I didn't go to any parties or any stuff like that. I was hooked. It was all I wanted, and I was very, I don't know, committed, yeah.
Out of curiosity, who would have been the people you would have looked up to? Did you have Trans World magazines, Snowboarder magazines, runway films? Are you watching these girls, and did you have idols from a young age?
Yeah, I think actually Erin Comstock, who is who's my very close friend now and has been a very important figure in my afterlife life, because she was basically one of the first people I saw out of the whole industry, snowboarding after my injury, because I moved to Colorado. I got injured in California. I moved to Colorado to be at the best, to do my recovery at the best hospital, Craig's Hospital, and only because I had known about this hospital from Kevin Pierce, who had gotten injured like 2 years before me, but I knew about that hospital. And Erin happens to move there, I think the day before me or the day after, just moved there from Utah. Anyways, love Erin. But funny, I don't know, I think it's funny that, yes, she was one of I just loved her style, everything. I didn't even know she was Erin Comstock, didn't even know her name, but I remember watching those girls' movies, and and I was like, oh, I love her style, like, I loved everything about her. And Tora, I always loved Tora, also an amazing friend, and also she has been so supportive. I can't even emphasize enough how helpful she has been through the whole thing. She also flew out, I think 2 weeks after my injury to visit me in the hospital, and then kept coming back and was really supportive. It was so important to have them around me. And yes, and the funniest thing that those two girls had always been my favorite, like watching those movies. Erin and Tora, and they were the closest, after the injury, and the most helpful ones too.
I feel like I asked that question a lot. Like, there's when you meet your pros and your heroes and stuff like that, and there's a tendency to be let down, and these people surpassed the amount that you could have ever imagined. That these people are your idols in Russia, and then you meet them, and then after your injury, those are the people that are sticking by your side through that difficult time. Like, wow, that's incredible. That shows a lot of character on both their sides. And
for sure.
I mean, Erin was one of both of those girls, incredible style. And as a guy growing up, Erin's snowboarding, I loved her snowboarding. She had such good style. She had a front board on this super famous this double rail, and I think it's in Salt Lake, and she's front boarding it, and it's a Roxy ad. And I think that might be the first girl picture I cut up and had on my wall. And it's I was like, I want a front board like that. I want to look like that. And it's just fighting her so hard.
Yeah, same. Everything about Erin's style was just impeccable to me. It was very edgy, and still is. She's still like that in everything she does.
And you're still close with both of those girls now?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen Tora for a couple of years. I think last time I saw her, she came out to Huntington Beach, where I lived back then, in California, on her birthday. So I got to celebrate her birthday. And then I think we haven't seen, so it was 2 years ago, I think. We haven't seen each other since then. With Erin, however, we have this tradition when she flew out, she used to fly out every spring to see me in California and have a spring break together or whatever. And we obviously missed this year because of the crazy weird pandemic. That's why we were gonna catch up and fly out there together last week. But then things got weird again with the lockdown, and numbers were getting worse again. So we thought it wasn't the best idea. So we decided to postpone it a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are in that same boat right now, where you're juggling what do you do, and you don't want to cross any lines, especially for health regulations and stuff like that. You want to be following suit. Is the lockdown pretty evident there in Moscow right now? Is it how are you guys dealing with it right now? Is it you can't leave your house, or non-essential businesses are closed, or what does that look like?
Well, right now, I think everything is closed after 11 p.m. Most of children and students are homeschooled, Zoom schooled, whatever it's called.
Zoom schooled, yeah.
Yeah. And most of companies work from home. and no shows or anything. All of my shows got canceled. The biggest show that I have been waiting for so long was supposed to be this Friday and got canceled, and I'm super bummed about it because it's just something surreal that I could never even imagine ever happening. One of my favorite bands of all time. When I was a teenager, it was my favorite band, like Russian band. They invited me this March to perform with them, like perform one of their songs with them in a venue for 7,000 people for their anniversary, like 25th birthday show. It was supposed to be this Friday, and I so hoped the whole pandemic thing would be over by now. When they invited me in March, and I'd be like, oh, by November,
Devastating.
it will be like all gone. Like November will happen. Like we have so much time before that. Of course, didn't happen. But it's postponed till September 2021. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Music-wise, what have you played for? You've opened for. I mean, you've played multiple concerts now and stuff like that. I mean, it's not like you're just playing the acoustic guitar alone in your room. Like you've played concerts. What are some shows that you've played for? What's your most proud moment that you've got to like open, or like you said that you played for at like a snowboard event that you used to ride in? That must have felt pretty cool.
There have been a couple of those, which is why I said at the beginning of our conversation about the loop. You know how I said about the loop? Because now it's still, like I haven't been able to, not let alone snowboard, or I haven't been able to walk in 7.5 years, but I still go to a lot of snowboard, skateboard, and surf festivals. But now as a musician, we've been to Bali. They flew us there for a whole week for a surf festival. 2 years ago, I think it was. Yeah, exactly 2 years ago.
So sick.
It was. I can't even tell you. I think it was one of the highlights because we got to play a show right in front of the ocean. The stage was right in front of the ocean, and there was a lineup. Like surfers were getting ready, like warming up before the competition or whatever. It was a surreal moment, and I wrote a song right there, sitting at the sound check on a barrel. I normally perform sitting on a barrel because I can't stand, obviously. So I sit on a barrel, and I was sitting there on the sound check while they were checking, the sound and everything. And I was looking at the lineup, and I was thinking, like, how weird is that I'm here? And it could have been so sad too to be back to surfing spot for the first time. I love Bali, used to go there to surf all the time, and it could have been devastating, but it wasn't because of the music, because I was like so excited about the show with my new band, and I'm sitting there looking at the lineup, and I wrote this song that we released a couple months ago. It's called Waves, and it's about how our life is not like linear, it's waves, and you can surf them. I mean, life is a lot like surfing, and sometimes it's the most horrible wipeout. I had mine in 2013, and a couple of years it was sad of bad waves coming, but I remember thinking, sitting on that barrel at the sound check, I was thinking wow, I like this new fresh wave, that I'm catching, being in Bali, treated like a rock star for some reason all of a sudden, being picked up with the sign, with my name on it as a musician, performing artist at the event. So it was like, what is this life, And then, as you said, yes, this Switzerland, this event in Switzerland, we got to play was also amazing too, because it was the first time I got to, because prior to that we had played that huge festival in Russia, the biggest Russian snowboard festival in Sochi at the Olympic Resort, not this spring, but the spring before that. And it was the first time I was back to the Russian snowboard scene. Because I got to, some of the people I got to see for the first time since before life, before the accident. And also music saved me back then, I think, because also, I don't know how, I remember coming there, and seeing the whole resort for the first time since getting ready for the Olympics right there, And for a second, I got heartache, oh, it's gonna be heavy. But then I was like, no, hold on a second. just think about that. You like there were chances that how great is that you are here again. You see all these people again. You're treated so well again, and you feel so much love. You're supported. You are surrounded with all these people, and you feel love from them. And you are here for a reason. You are here to play a show. That show was mind blowing. It was mind blowing. And I can't even describe that show. It was so wild, and I again looking at all these faces from stage and. Meant so much to me, and again I think music saved me, because it could have been something heavy, because I got to be a host at a competition the next day after the show, or maybe the day off the show, but in the morning I got to be like a host because there were live broadcasting of the competition. So, and I was like commenting or whatever. I was like on the snow, on the slopes where I used to ride, and it could have been bad, but I didn't feel any of that, because I had so much more going on to me, and I had so many shootings scheduled for that time. So they kept me really busy. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but I barely slept for the whole time I was there, because they were like, there were so many planned for me, a motivational speaking event, like a couple of shootings, a couple of interviews, the show, and some other stuff like that hosting, being the host for the competition. And I think I was a judge on one of them. Yes, it was a girl amateur contest. Yes, it was a Roxy contest, and they asked me to judge it. And that was also, I wasn't sure how it was going to feel, but it felt great because of the music. So that was also answering your question. Pretty remarkable show we got to play. But then Switzerland this year was the first time I got to be back to the international snowboard scene, and also I hadn't seen some of those people for 7 years. So, but it was great. Thanks to music, it was an amazing experience.
I mean, I love that you got to open in Bali and red carpet, this amazing treatment, and you're there and you have this moment of at peace with what had happened. And then the same thing with snowboarding. You could have easily resented and jaded to those opportunities. Like, I don't want to play in Bali because of whatever. I don't want to play at those events. And those are probably some of the, just seeing your smile there. Those are memories you're going to look back on fondly forever.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That sounds like the one dream I've always wanted for myself. And I don't think I've ever told anybody this, was it would be so amazing to be a musician and to play something that other people enjoy, and seeing them out kind of moving around to it. I couldn't imagine playing a song in Bali where people are surfing and you have the warm sun kind of beating on you, and you're just, that must have been the coolest experience.
I know,
ever.
Right in front of the ocean is one of my favorite things. Also has been saving me for years after the injury, because I moved, after my injury, I moved to California, which was a dream, one of a few dreams that I could still make happen, not being able to walk and all. So I was like, okay, now I can move to California, and I moved to Huntington Beach. It's a surf city. And so ocean is one of my favorite things. So this combo of playing a show right in front of the ocean, I could hear, see the waves crashing right in front of me. A lot of times it's a skateboard, a bowl or a skate park. We've played a lot of them. I have some pictures with where the stage was right on the edge, on the side of a skate bowl. And so I have I'm taking a picture of my of my Vans or whatever, of my feet, and I'm holding a hand holding the microphone, and you can see the rail, the bowl, the coping, and I was like, that's so funny. I think it was we played a show on my birthday. It was my birthday show, and I was like, well, I'm back to the surfing in the bowl. That was I probably love skateboarding way more than snowboarding, even concrete bowls and stuff. So I was like, well, I guess it's a way to be back to it because we get to perform at a lot of like skate contests like that. And I think it's this perspective that, yes, of course, the first thought that normally comes to your mind first is, it could be so much better, or it could have been so much better. But also, if you think about it, it could be so much worse, and I could not be invited. It's
all perspective.
Yes, so I couldn't be. There was a chance that I couldn't be a part of these amazing events anymore, and traveling all these amazing places and be so like awaited there. But I get to experience that, and it's amazing. So I try to focus on what I still have, and and try to always remember that, yes, it could be better, but it also could be worse. And it helps me appreciate what I have and see how much I still have.
I feel like if there's any takeaway from this podcast, that's it right there. Like, if you can look at it, everybody should look at their life like that 24/7. Like, if you can't be grateful for what you have at this moment, one of my friends a long time ago said something very simple to me. He was a little bit older, into poetry and that type of thing. And he said, the day that I don't enjoy the hot sun on my arm drinking a cup of coffee, like, is the day I don't want to be around anymore. And I don't know why that stuck with me, but I was always like, if I can't just enjoy going outside and, having the warm sun on my skin and having a hot cup of coffee, or maybe somebody doesn't like coffee, tea, whatever, Coca-Cola, water, whatever, don't drink Coke. That you have to be able to appreciate those things in the moment, because you only have the moment right now. And it's like, I'm reading a few interesting books right now too that are opening my mind to that exact perspective that you have done such a good job of wrapping your mind around, which is, I love the way you look at life like that.
Thank you. Well,
it's amazing.
It's been a journey for sure. I don't want to sound like, I was like that, if Tora and Erin, they saw me at my worst, right after the injury, where I wasn't, more than that, I have to say it because I don't want to make people believe that I've been always just the sunshine, after the injury. And then from the very beginning, I was like, I have had my dark moments. There was a point right after the injury where I have to say it, it's heavy, but I have to say I envied, Sarah Burke, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. Sarah, yeah.
And it's crazy now to be thinking that, but I envied her that she didn't get to experience the suffering of like the pain of losing everything you had, and I was thinking everybody's gonna remember her successful and happy and pretty, and I have to deal with this loss. I have to be present to realize. And now all this years past that, I of course it's hard, like it's weird for me to even think, but that's how low I was, that I just didn't want to exist. I knew that I would never do anything to myself, although I didn't want to be, but I started fighting right away because I knew I couldn't do anything to myself, because first of all, because there are always people who love you, and it's like killing them.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to know what was the biggest help. Like, what was the first step that you felt was pushing you in the right direction? You're in the hole, you're struggling with this new way. Like, what was the first thing when you were like, that helped me the most? Was it reaching out to friends? Was it seeing people?
Well, it's been a long journey. And first step was admitting to myself, okay, I'm never gonna do anything to myself because my family and close friends don't deserve it, because I'll be gone, I will not feel anything, but they will get to live with it for the rest of their life, their lives will be darkened. So first thing, I decided that I'm not doing anything, so if I'm staying, I have to put up a fight. And so I started fighting as hard as I could right away, because I knew that if I don't do anything, it doesn't get better. If I do something, I get a chance to change something. So I was doing everything in my power to change it, but it was still dark for a long time. And I think I said that we need to switch the focus from what we don't have to what we do have, but it doesn't happen like this. But I remember so I started teaching languages 3 months after, and that was an important moment, because that's kind of I was forced to switch it, because it made me focus on, wow, I have had master's degree. That was the year I was doing my master's degree, finishing my master's degree, graduating. I didn't get to graduate because of my injury, but I already had that master's degree, and it switched my focus to, wait, okay, it seems like I've lost it all, but hey, you have your degree, you had worked so hard to get it, so now you can finally apply it. So it was, the first, I think, starting working was a very important moment, because I felt like, okay, I still can do something, because prior to that, it felt like I had lost it all and I couldn't do anything. So it was little steps like that helped me switching the focus. Or you mentioned modeling, and I had modeled prior to the injury as a Roxy. I started modeling for Roxy. Back then it was mostly bikini modeling and catalog modeling for Roxy and stuff like that. And of course, first it felt like, well, I'm done modeling, I can't walk. What do you want from me? I can't do anything. But then slowly but surely I changed it to, okay, well, maybe it's going to be a little bit more challenging now. It's going to be different, but I actually still can model. And then it was a pretty surreal moment when a year ago I was signing the biggest modeling contract I had ever had, even being healthy and before the accident, I didn't have contracts like that. So it was wow.
You are amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, but, it didn't happen overnight. It was even my way back to modeling was not easy. There were times when I would be crying and knowing that I need to get ready for the shoot, but everything was so much more difficult, normal routine, getting ready for a shoot was something impossible, an impossible mission. And the first time I did it, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm not gonna, but then I was like, well, no, actually, I kind of like the shooting. Yes, the getting ready for it was challenging, but I liked the shooting, so I got to do it again. So, and to the point when now I barely even know the difference. I stopped noticing it, and well, it led me to the point when I was signing the best modeling contract I had ever had. So with the biggest brand too. What, really?
Which brand was it?
It was Estee Lauder.
Okay, I don't know anything about anything other than snowboarding. So.
Okay, it's a makeup brand. It's a makeup, one of the biggest makeup brands. And I said at the beginning you asked me about what helped, and it was a lot of things. It wasn't just one thing. I had a list of things, and there were times in the first 3, 4, 5 months when I was I was gasping for air, those very dark moments when you really just in the moment you don't want to be.
A panic attack.
Attack, fog, when you don't, I felt like my vision was blurred. That's how heavy it all was. I was suffocating with how unfair it all felt to me. I hadn't done anything bad to anybody, and stuff like that. And I knew that I needed to, it was basically my SOS button. I opened my phone with the notes, and there was a list of things that could help. And sometimes it was thing number 3 that helped. Sometimes I had to try them all, go until the very bottom and start over. And one of the first there were pills, because I was on a lot of stuff. And then, it was music. I remember music. Calling my best friend was there too. Writing a journal played a big role, I think. Then playing the piano, music. I think it was listening to music, but there was also playing the piano. And psychology played a big role in my journey for sure, because I started reading a lot, because for some reason I couldn't like work with a therapist. Might be my Russian mentality, whatever it is. I tried, but I was like not ready, rejecting the help. But I started reading a lot of psychology. I'm a bookworm, like born a bookworm, but I started like reading psychology that I could apply, and actually use, and that helped a whole lot. And of course, there were a lot of other things, but those I think died. And of course, like friends and family for sure.
You're beyond proactive with like, okay, this is the circumstance, this is what I'm going to do. I mean, like you said, it wasn't any easy task, but a big takeaway for me there personally was, and I think a lot of people don't do, is just baby steps. They look at this huge hill to climb, and instead of just every day, like you said, it wasn't necessarily on the list number 1 or number 2 or number 3, but like if you can make a list of baby steps so you're moving in the right direction every day. I mean, it's just like a ball with no momentum isn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Where if every day you do something, it's like that one thing does inevitably, it turns into a bigger snowball and a bigger snowball, and then eventually you're this big unstoppable force to be reckoning with, getting multi-deal contracts with makeup companies and stuff, and you're opening shows in Bali, etc. And the ball just keeps on rolling, and it wouldn't have started rolling if you didn't take those initial steps.
For sure. And also I didn't it was even hard to hope for this ball, and you worded it very nicely. I like that, because I wasn't thinking that I'm doing baby steps for something, for the snowball. I was just surviving. Back then I was just surviving. My biggest goal was survive today, make the best, if it was even applicable, the word best, but like just one day at a time. Just I need to be the best version I can be today, and do the best I can do today to survive. And for years it was just like making it through the day with the not so many tears, with not so much pain, like doing everything to make the best version out of today. So I wasn't thinking about the bigger picture. I was just like one day at a time. But somehow
I
it
think
led.
That there's some level of importance just to be shown on like that. We don't need to go. This isn't the, you don't have to go into all the details and stuff. But how did this injury come together? I feel like that's the number one thing you've probably been asked, and I know you've been doing multiple interviews over these last few years, and it's probably your least favorite story to tell. But just so people have some context.
So, just a little bit prehistory. It happened when I felt like I was on top of life. Like everything was the best it could be in my life. I was graduating with my master's degree. I was like happy, in love, engaged. I had just signed amazing contracts, because I had been selected to compete at the Olympics for my country. And I was, I think, the only girl in my discipline. So it gave me all the best contracts. Crazy contracts, like Procter & Gamble, like one of the biggest brands out there, I went, also I had won like Europa Cup, which gave me like a top position on it was important for our national team for some reason. And I had become a champion of Russia for the 7th time in both disciplines, slopestyle and halfpipe. So I felt, that I had it all. And I went to California to shoot with Quicksilver guys, and I was the only girl from Roxy, and the rest of the guys were DC and Quicksilver team. So it was supposed to be just this fun trip, like spring, shooting, training for the Olympics, kind of, but it was spring, so not much training you could get, but still, it was Mammoth, California. And I didn't feel healthy that day. I was a little bit under the weather. I don't know. It was like dizzy, whatever it was, jet lag, whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure what it was, but I didn't feel in good shape that day. But I'm a responsible person. So I was like, wait, I'm here. We're supposed to be shooting. I think the rest of the guys from the team had been partying the night before. So they were not capable of shooting anything on that day either. I had a different story. I don't drink, and I didn't drink alcohol back then either. But I felt the responsibility. None of the riders, none of the guys could perform or shoot anything. I couldn't either, but I was very responsible. So I was like, okay, we gotta shoot something. And there was a couch, like a red couch. Furniture couch, the one that you have like a sofa, and was on the mountain. So I thought, okay, I can't ride today, I can't shoot anything, but how can you can't get injured on a couch, it's soft after all. And something went wrong. I hiked one time, I fell, and I was like, it's fun, crazy as it sounds, I didn't like to fall. I wasn't one of those, who tries something risky and sketchy. I broke my bones very easily. As I said, I started my snowboarding with a broken bone. So it was easy for me to understand that, my bones are not very good at being my bones. They're very fragile. And, I should be careful. I can't afford falling much, of course we fall sometimes, but I always did tricks that I'm very confident. I would never go to a big jump and try something that I had barely ever tried or that I'm not very confident with. So I did only the tricks I was sure about. That was my strategy. I preferred to go with a simpler trick, but the trick that I know I'll land. That was my motto or whatever. So I didn't do anything, crazy. It was the simplest thing, but I fell and I was like, wow, I don't think I'm falling so bad in the whole season. I did not like that. And I think I untied my shoes and decided I would call it a day. I didn't like it. It was kind of a bad sign because I don't like to fall like that. And I was like, okay, I guess I tried, I can't. And I decided to film the guys, and there's a picture, I'm standing, and shooting with a GoPro, the guys on the couch where they're trying to do something to, and then I'm like, oh man, I've wanted to ride so bad though. I have been waiting for this moment for so long, and the weather is so great, and it's sunny and nice, and I should give it one more try. And I think I hiked up, I tied my shoes again, and I don't know, I think a lot of people, whenever they untie their shoes, the boots, snowboarding boots, they never go back to it, and I don't remember any other time I did it, but yeah, I got back, I put it all back on, and I went for another try, and I fell, and there was nothing, it was the weirdest fall ever. It tweaked, at a weird, the board tweaked at a weird angle, and I fell. But again, I stopped feeling my legs right away, and because I fell on my back, and also I ruptured my spleen, and so the pain was excruciating, and I started screaming on top of my lungs. And the guys, all the guys that were right next to me, they didn't understand. Are you crazy? Why are you screaming like that? Because they say, it felt like you're gonna just get up, undo your bindings and walk away, it wasn't a scary fall. A year later, when I met up for the first time with the guys who were there, at the scene, the guy who ran up to me first, and the other guy who wasn't there was asking, so how did you fall? Seeing me not being able to walk, I was wearing my leg braces and trying to walk in the leg braces. And he was just looking at it, being how? How did it happen? How did she fall? And the other guy who had seen it was well, just like you've fallen today at a skate park 2 times already, so it was that, wasn't anything crazy. It was just very, very unlucky. So that's it. And yeah, the guys, when they ran up to me, they're like, you okay? Why are you, they were like, I think they wanted to move me. And I was like, no, don't touch me. I think it's pretty bad. And I remember saying like, I hope I can walk again, because I couldn't feel my legs right away. So it felt scary right away.
Oh, wow. That must have been, yeah, I can't even put words to that when that all probably happened. I mean, wow, the thoughts that you must have been. I mean, and then which hospital did you fly out of there then in a bird?
Yeah, it was a plane. They flew me in a little like jet to Reno, Nevada, because it was very important to perform the surgery as soon as possible. So that was the hospital where they could accept me like right away. So I got very lucky with how quick they performed the surgery and all that.
And you got you got like quite a bit of metal in you, and from doing a little bit of digging, I seen that you've taken it all out, which I'm a big fan of, to be honest. I mean, like, I personally wouldn't want all that in my body either.
I don't even know if it's the right thing to do, because nobody does that. So once they're installed, yes, I pretty much begged my surgeon to do it. I don't know why. I'm not a very intuitive person. It's not that I feel the voices in my head or whatever, or I feel some kind of intuition, nothing like that, but I just wanted it out of my body. So after a year, first of all, it was causing me a lot of pain. I couldn't even lean back in the chair because it was 12 screws and 2 big plates or whatever, rods. So whenever I leaned back and there was a hard backrest or whatever, it hurt. I had to even in my car, I couldn't rest my back on it, and I was in pain most of the time. And so a year past a year after my injury, I called my surgeon and asked him if it's something they could do. And they said, well, not so soon. Let's go back to this question. Nobody does that. And anyways, but let's go back to this question next year. And I think he was hoping that I would be just by then I would be whatever, I would have moved on. But a year later, I call him and say hey, can we take them out? And he said, oh, what? Really? You want to do that? But nobody, why? It's not gonna make anything better. If you think that's gonna make you walking again. And then I got all the images, imaging done, all the x-rays and stuff. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, it's not fused yet. We can't, your spine is not fused yet. We can't do it. Let's get back to this, in a year. And I was like, oh, he just, it's never going to happen, because if it's not fused after 2 years, it's never going to fuse. That's what I was thinking. But in a year, I reached out to the surgeon again, and I was like, I really want it out of my body. I don't know why. I just want my body to be my body again. And for this whole time, I've been trying to, being grateful is something that have helped me to go through the whole thing. I was starting at the darkest times. I was before going to bed, I started to list at least 3 things that I'm grateful for. Sometimes it was impossible, but it helps. It's amazing how this little thing, it's a game changer, even in the darkest times it was helping. So this whole time I've been grateful for my body staying one piece, being my body. And so it was important for me to get that medal out for some reason, I don't know. And so 3 years later, when I called him and said, and he's like, you still want to do it? And I guess he just gave up. He was like, okay, she's gonna keep calling me, just,
yeah.
Okay, let's just get it over with. And we took it out, and I realized that I had lived in crazy pain all those years, because I felt, the surgery was horrible. The experience post-surgery was very, very, it was bad, because I got addicted to Norco a little bit. I had that moment of, I didn't even realize it, but so I had that problem on top of everything else. But also the recovery after the second spine surgery was pretty brutal. But as soon as it was over, because there was a mini fracture during the surgery, I guess because it was just that metal was in there for a while. Anyways, as soon as I was past that experience, I realized that I had lived those 3 years always in pain. Like I stopped noticing it, I guess, because it was my new normal, you know. And when you live with this pain all the time, it becomes your new normal. So you think that's what it's supposed to be. And only when I didn't have those rods and screws in my body, I was like, oh, okay, so it's not supposed to be like that then. Like, okay, now it's how it's supposed to feel. So I'm thankful that I was able
that
to.
They're out. You're happy.
Yes,
You're happy you made that decision. I mean, me too. I mean, just for you using that analogy, or not analogy, but that situation of you being in the car and leaning back and you like being like, you can feel that metal in you. Like, I feel like I'd be the same way, like get it out. And then you do, and you were right the whole time. Like, imagine, like,
I didn't think that right away though. Like for the first month after the surgery, I was really double guessing my decision. I was in so much pain that I was like, oh, I guess he was right, but it's too late now. I was really, and then the whole Norco experience and the whole thing I was seriously double guessing my decision. But yes, as you said, probably because I was skinny, like really skinny, that I don't understand why I had so much problem. Like I could feel the screws, you know, even with like my fingers on my back. That did not feel right. So
what a good thing. I mean, I'm happy you got those removed, because it just seems agitating for even me just thinking about those that metal in you. Like that's so. After this, what's your diet like? Because I know that you're vegetarian.
I'm vegan.
But what?
No.
Or you're full vegan.
Well,
and I feel like I remember that from back then. Were you vegetarian when we first met? I feel like you were.
Yeah.
And
so we just
you've been doing
with you that we met 12 years ago. 2008. It was 2008, and I was already vegetarian. So I think it's been 13 years. But I started as a vegetarian, but went vegan just a little bit over a year ago, a year and a half, maybe.
And did you grow up eating meat and you made that decision on your own? Like why the switch over, and now why the switch over to full veganism? And do you feel better? Because I mean, I'm trying to incorporate more plants, etc., into my diet, but I haven't gone. I mean, I still eat meat, and there's a level of guilt coming with it, with the whole consumption process of it, etc. So,
well, you're on the right path. If you think about it, you're already halfway there, you know. So, it's good that I think you're almost there. When you start thinking this way, you're almost there. That's how it happens.
I know. I've actually was a vegan for like 2 months, a long time ago with my ex-girlfriend, and I enjoyed it. And then I went to like my girlfriend now, is just a vegetarian. Mm-hmm. So at home I only eat vegetarian meals, and then when I'm out, I do dabble in the meat department, and sometimes I like, you know, I'll stop and get like fast food, but that level of guilt is growing at a like absurd rate of like, I get it. And then immediately when it's over, I'm like, I'm a bad person. Like,
well, that's exactly how it happens. And, it's funny. It's again, very connected to punk rock, because my first CD, as I said, my first CDs was Goldfinger, and they have a song called Free Me. And they had a music video for that song, and it's just footage from slaughterhouses, you know. And as soon as I saw that, and I loved the song, I loved the band, and as soon as I couldn't unsee it, you know, I was done. Like it was
the damage was done.
Yeah, it wasn't even a decision, you know. It was just I couldn't do. Like after seeing that, I couldn't unsee it. I still love that song. I still even perform it often at my shows, at my acoustic shows, like cover the song, because it's so, you know, it turned out to be so meaningful to me. And I always wanted to become vegan too, but you know, it's especially in Russia. Well, it's changing too, but a couple years ago, when I started it, you know, I didn't even know a lot of people who were vegetarian, let alone vegan. So I was seen as an extremist, I swear. Like people were like, as if I was doing something extremely wrong. My parents also were very concerned. for them, it was like joining a cult. And it was simply explained as, man, I just love animals, and I don't see the difference. I love being logical, and it's just not very logical to me why we take our dogs to daycare and to the best vets and buy them like fun toys and stuff, but we eat like others, like while there is no difference between them. So, and like every day. So it was just as simple as that. But in their minds, it was like, oh, it's just because she's young, you know, she's like joined a cult or something.
Yeah,
like
like looking at their daughter like you're like a witch. My biggest thing with this whole thing is, you know, COVID lockdowns happen, and it's just kind of becoming a little bit more real to me as I see and know a lot of people whose businesses have been closed down, like the mom and pop stores, you know, the vegetables and fruit corners on every store, etc. It's just like there's so many small businesses that are getting fully pushed out, and but all governments are letting fast food stay open. Walmart stays open, so it's like they'll feed you the absolute bullshit in the world, but they'll close, like, you know, a corner store that sells fruits and vegetables. It's like, I'm like, it's like, I don't know. It's a level of like me going to a fast food place right now. I feel like guilty because not only is it's unethical, it's also like, why does the government deem eating fast food an essential service over, like, you know, getting fruits and vegetables at the corner store? I don't know. And it's not, and it seems like a world issue. It's like not just Canadian or like the entire world. Fast food's just open, but other places are closed. And I just feel like that's a little weird.
Well, it started as like just simple videos of from slaughterhouses, and then just love for animals and not understanding the logic. But then, of course, the more I found out, the more horrified I was about the whole industry, like meat industry. And of course, soon after you start digging in and like reading into it or watching all that, you understand that, you know, dairy industry is not a whole lot better, but being vegan, it was always a dream. But I had some problems with my stomach, and I just couldn't figure out my diet. And it was like the transition was very slow, but slowly but surely. Did
you have an autoimmune disease, out of curiosity?
It was erosion of my stomach.
Okay.
Where like I don't even know how to describe it, but you're supposed to eat yogurt and stuff like that. It's like that's the diet they prescribe you. So for the longest time, veganism stayed my dream, you know, and I would stop buying like leather clothing and stuff. Well, let alone fur and stuff. That never happened even, but But I still couldn't stop eating this yogurt for my diet, and it was. But as you said, the feeling of guilt and all that, it's just it was getting bigger and bigger. And finally, as soon as I was at some point I was like, okay, I don't care. I'm just gonna figure it out. And I became vegan, and I'm very happy that I could finally make this dream happen. And but it's been 13 years to finally answer your question.
Wow. I'm pro ethically sourced meat. I feel like, you know, from my own wormhole of like, you know, and my whole culture and what I believe in, I'm down for like sustainable killing of meat and doing that properly and ethically if you're going to consume and use everything properly. But the overabundance of so far from inhumane ways of food is absolutely disgusting, and I feel like I'm so glad I was going to order a pizza last night with meat on it, and I didn't even order the pizza actually. Does that make me feel? I feel like I'm trying to make myself feel like a good person right now.
There are so many good options too. Being vegetarian is not hard at all. Like I never was like, oh my god, it's so hard.
I disagree. I feel like it's so hard. I try it, and then I'm like, the flavors and stuff just aren't. But it also it changes. It's like when I was a vegan with my ex. Eventually, I started loving the taste of just fruits and vegetables. But now I've gone back.
Well, you can change it. You know, you can change it.
Yeah, I know. I gotta change it. I gotta start that snowball.
They say that you get a glimpse of your receptors in your, like, even in your tongue. As far as I know, I might sound stupid. I don't know
I've
the
heard
scientific part of that, but yeah, because I love food. Like, I love the taste of my food now, and I don't. And first, like, while being vegetarian was never hard for me. Being vegan is hard, but was hard when I started. But then, the more you were in it, the more you find out that there's so many. First, you're like, what am I gonna eat? You know. But then you realize there's so many options now, especially in the more modern world. There's so many options, and even Beyond Meat, you know, I'm not a fan of meat in general, so I don't do the vegan meat often, like the artificial meat, because I don't know, the bad connection in my brain.
I agree.
But I shouldn't be this way though. I should understand that it's plants. I shouldn't be this way. But anyways, but even for meat and even like chicken and stuff like that, they taste exactly what you want them to taste, but
if you're
it's
gonna
a
have
happy
a funky
food.
diet, if you're gonna have a funky diet, 2020 was the year to go into you can go into a grocery store now all over the world and be able to come out with vegan Oreos and stuff. Everything that's actually Oreos are vegan to begin with, but you know what I mean. Like anything else, like chocolate chip cookies, or like my girlfriend has Crohn's disease, and so she's has a really strict diet of stuff she can eat and can't eat. And everything that she used to love, now they've made an alternative that allows her to eat that again, like mac and cheese. She loves mac and cheese, but now they've come out with this vegan mac and cheese, and I'm like, I mean, I think it tastes terrible, but she's just like, this is the best thing in the world.
Well,
and I'm not going to take that away from her, knowing breaking her heart and saying you know what, real mac and cheese is still way better, but it's terrible.
Well, also, I think I'm a lot healthier. My diet is a lot healthier now. I don't even remember what my diet was before. 13 years is a lot, so I don't really remember what I ate prior to being vegetarian. But if you compare vegan and vegetarian, I think I eat way better now, because I actually do the blood work, check the vitamins, take the supplies. I always make choice now. I look at what I eat. Before being vegetarian, it's pasta and cheese, whatever, well, vegetables, of course, but being vegan, it just happens that you choose a healthier, thing, even at a restaurant, which is not a thing it hasn't been a thing for the last 9 months, but, I would normally order a dessert, but now, okay, this is not vegan, this is not vegan, this is not, okay, I'll go for, chia seeds with fruit. And, it's the healthiest thing you can get. And you are kind of forced to go for this, but it's good for your body. Your body is thankful for it. Or instead of, it just happens that you are forced to eat healthier food. And, yeah.
Your favorite breakfast that's vegan, your favorite lunch that's vegan, and your favorite dinner that's vegan. Go.
Oh, I like it. Well, there are a lot of options for lunch and dinner. Breakfast, I used to love cheese a lot, so that was the hardest part for me. But now it's a toast, avocado toast.
Okay. What do you, okay, avocado toast.
So toast, then coconut butter on it, then avocado, and a tomato, sliced tomato on top of it too, salt, and flax seeds.
Oh, wow, that is healthy.
Yeah,
I'm
but
down.
also very tasty.
I really
though.
like that. I would probably put a little bit of hot sauce on the top of mine.
You can do it. I like it. Well, no, it tastes like a cheat meal though. It's really tasty. It doesn't I couldn't breakfast is my food. I need to have my breakfast. So, but it doesn't. It's not porridge, boring, or grits or something like that. That's something really, really feels like a cheat meal.
All right, lunch. And don't chintz on the toppings here. Let's get the full-on lunch experience.
Yeah, well, I don't want to sound like vegan diet is boring, so I'll go with a vegan burger. And last week, my friends local bar. Their bar and restaurant called Punk Fiction Bar, which is very authentic punk and bar and restaurant with a skate bowl inside, like indoors, skate bowl, and outside.
No way.
Yeah, it's the sickest place to, like, it's such a good combo of what I like, everything I love, because the walls are literally covered with snowboarding and skateboarding pictures. Like my favorite artists on the walls, and there are shows there. I got to perform there, like I played a couple shows there, and there is a skate ramp and all that, so people are riding, and music, as you said, it's the best combo, and like you get to play while people are moving. That's the best thing, like skateboarding and doing their favorite thing. So they're also, they have a veganga, they called, it's a vegan restaurant. And they make their food there, and they asked me if, they offered me to make my signature burger. They saw in my Instagram stories, whatever, the vegan burger I make, and it's gonna be my signature pro model of vegan burger there, which is a burger bun, vegan bun, right? The bread with sesame seeds.
Sesame seeds.
Yeah, sorry. Then it's like the quinoa and spinach thing, instead of meat, but it tastes incredible. My not even vegetarian friends, not let alone vegan, they meat eaters, but they love, as soon as I introduce them to this thing, they love it. It's quinoa, spinach, and something else, but it tastes amazing. I don't know why. So it's veganism, which tastes like mayo, but it's vegan. Then this thing, whatever it's called, instead of meat, then
the quinoa patty.
Yeah, and then it's mustard.
Yum. Love
and
mustard.
Yeah, well, you can add ketchup. I'm not a fan of ketchup.
No, me neither. It's the worst condiment.
So, and then it's pickles and fresh cucumbers, fresh tomatoes. Then it's salad leaves, and then it's also kale leaves, because I don't like kale, but I know it's really good for you. But in such a tasteful burger, you don't feel the boring taste of kale. That's why I put it in there, because you just eat it with the whole thing, and you don't. And then so you heat the bun and this spinach quinoa thing and a vegan cheese in the microwave. So then you put tomatoes, cucumbers, pickles, salad leaves, and kale, and then I add flax seeds, because you can taste them, but they're good for you. And I think that's about it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's ready, but it's so good.
There's some people that are listening to this right now that are they just put the show on hold, and they're gonna go.
I started
or they're gonna go,
I feel like.
or we just influence somebody to stop it to Burger King, and they're just gonna swing in and get some A&W or something like that.
Well, it tastes amazing though. It doesn't taste vegan or weird. I make it for everyone who comes to my house. I make this, I want to introduce them, look, and they're like, is it vegan? People are like, vegan, it's gross, but then they're like, wow, it's actually amazing. How do you make that?
Hit me with that dinner. What's the dinner you got? You a cauliflower pizza or something boring, or what are you going?
Well, if I eat, I wouldn't eat a pizza and burger on the same day, although I do like vegan pizza, and there are a lot of options now. But I love bulgur. Do you know what it is? Bulgur?
Similar to borscht, a Ukrainian soup?
No. Oh, I love borscht. And borscht is vegan, actually, so I love borscht with veganese, yeah. Well, it's grain, like rice, but it's called bulgur, I think. Maybe I pronounced it wrong, but it's bulgur with some type of salad. Veganese makes everything great. If you, again, I'm trying to give a starter pack, right? So veganese is a great thing because it makes taste. I don't eat a lot of veganese, but I was
gonna say, are they your newest sponsor?
No, I don't eat a lot of it, but I know if you think vegan diet is boring, then you're wrong. And start with add just a little bit of veganism, and it tastes so much better. Anyways, anything tastes good with it, but I don't need it anymore. Let's say that. So
I need it. If I'm gonna transfer, I need the veganese, and I wouldn't be able to give up cheese yet. Like you said, it wasn't your first. You loved it, but you've let go of it. I wouldn't be willing to just let go of it at this point.
Yeah, but there are
I'm sorry.
but you should start with alternatives. There are so many cheese alternatives.
Cashew cheese is good. Cashew cheese is really good.
So yeah, I mean, of course, we don't suggest you stop eating cheese at all. You can just switch to alternatives. That's all we suggest. And now I do sound like I'm in a cult, huh?
Your parents were terrified for the right reasons.
Well, so okay, I'm obsessed with microgreens for some reason. I'm not a fan of greens in general, although I do eat a lot of it now. But microgreens, it's some like sprouts of beans and stuff. They're good. So it's normally some sort of grain with like salad with a lot of. I love guacamole. Guac is vegan, so I incorporate that a lot in like dinner and stuff.
Do you want to know how I eat a salad in like 20 seconds? I don't know if this is gross, but I don't love eating salad, but I buy like a big box of it, and then I just grab a handful and I squeeze it into the smallest ball possible, and I throw the entire thing in my mouth. And you can literally fit like what somebody would have as a full large salad in one fistful. And then I take like a half-ounce shot of apple cider vinegar, and it's just gone in like 30 seconds. And I just ate the biggest salad ever. It's
so you take it just like a pill. It's a pill for you, yeah?
It's a pill
like a
for
bitter
me.
pill that you just need to take, but you don't like the taste. Got it.
And it's done. And then I'm like, I feel so good after I do it. I'm like, wow. Because in order for me to like eat just I don't know, spinach and arugula salad, it's like I need some heavy toppings on there to get me through that meal.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't fully like embraced the veggies. I've fallen out of the veggies. I feel like I'm maybe into like a big pasta phase, but I mean, that's just me.
Well,
all right. So what are you up to these days? What's the future have in store for you? How can people follow you and see what you're up to? Your band's name. Just give us a quick breakdown on everything again, so people.
My band's name is 321 Run, and I have another acoustic project which just goes by my family name. Just my name, and that you struggle to pronounce. And then
very much so.
I mean, things are weird now. So now I keep practicing self-isolation, just doing my part, just because I don't know what else I can do to help this whole thing to be over and to get back to normal life and to shows. I really miss shows. That's the biggest thing I miss. And
we all do.
Yeah, but I try to again like incorporate focusing on what I still have, and I play a lot of music, and I've seen a lot of progress in my musical skills. I have a vocal coach, and I've been working on my vocal, piano and guitar. I've been mastering, I teach languages, but I've been using this time to get better at what I do too.